and he just cramps, unclips
Yeah,
both
grabs in
legs.
both legs.
And did you ever see him again in this race?
No, he quit. He quit the race.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Super excited to have my European correspondent, Glenn, back on the channel. Welcome back.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me back.
Dude, I've been waiting 10 long months to have you back, but your Interclub is back on.
Yeah, it's been postponed until July. All racing was postponed, and we couldn't race only on club circuits. And now the Interclub is back on July.
So it's been so long, let's remind folks what your Interclub is all about. It's a lot like Alviso, but it's got a bunch of 6'4" blonde Dutch guys who have a 400 watt FTP. That's the difference.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, it's a little bit more organized. It's your own dedicated club. That's the reason you're able to race here. And it is just like a pro race. There are sprint points on offer, and there is a general classification too. So let's first talk about the sprint points. Let's remind viewers what this is all about. Every 6 laps, so 6 laps in, 12 laps in, and then also the finish, based on your position that you cross the line in. Position, not time, you get sprint points, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we have a MyLab system who tracks the rider's time, and when you cross the line first, you get the sprint points.
So then the second part of this equation is general classification, which is not your position necessarily, it's time. So the first rider crosses a line at the end of the race, and then they start a stopwatch, and they count back to all those little gaps that exist in the race, back to the last finisher in the race. And then you carry that general classification week to week to week throughout the rest of this season. And then at the end of this, they crown an Interclub Sprint Champion and an Interclub GC Champion. Is that right?
Yeah, you explain it perfectly.
So with that said, we're gonna be tracking Glenn's races on a week-to-week basis, assuming Glenn can make the races. We're gonna keep you guys up to speed, and I want to track how the rest of your season goes because this is super fascinating with me. I want to bring this to the United States. So anyway, I don't want to get too chatty about it. I just want to get into the race footage, and let's talk about this first race, which I'll start by saying it probably wasn't your best race ever. The first one back in the rain. Let's throw a couple of more excuses on top of the mix here. Glenn's a modest guy, so I have to make excuses for Glenn here, you guys.
Yeah.
So you were telling me 60-hour work weeks, and then also, and I think this is a good idea in the long term, but weight workouts in the gym, probably not a good idea the day before a criterium. So with that said, let's dive into some race footage.
Let's do it.
Okay, so actually, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this first race, Glenn, because I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit unimpressive. That first race back after a long time is always a little sketch, especially in the rain.
Yeah, it was a wet race. It was my best day. So let's go over it quick.
Yeah, but I do want to catch the audience up to speed on what happened this first race. So here goes Red Gloves. You guys remember Red Gloves launching early into the very first preem lap. That's why, Glenn, you were positioning yourself right up towards the front right here. This is a sprint lap, so there are sprint points on offer. And Glenn, I thought you had him, man. He's right there, but he just held you off right at the line. Red Glove strikes again.
Yeah, it's the gaps in the rain. The gaps were too big. We couldn't ride the lines we usually do in the dry on the dry circuit. So the opportunist Red Gloves got away with the 5 points.
And I'll tip my cap to Red Gloves there, because usually you're rewarded in really challenging conditions, like a technical race, or in this case a wet race, for going early, because you get those choice lines through corners, and it worked out for him that time. Let's skip to the second sprint competition there. You collected a couple of points there. Let's fast forward a bit. All right, a few laps later, well, actually 6 laps later, right? We are approaching the second prize lap, the second sprint points lap, and I thought this guy in the red helmet was going to bring you up to that group of 3.
Yeah, but he's also contesting the sprint classification. So he's luring me out.
And it worked. That's a pretty sneaky trick. He got you most of the way there, and he's like, "No, you close it down the rest of the way." And he kind of forces your hand, right? Like, you can't just let those 3 guys get away, especially with this powerful sprinter in the orange jersey up there.
Yeah, this is a fast guy, and you don't want him to gap you. So you want to be honest with you when he launches a sprint.
You got a little bit of wind there going on the left when the other guys went to the right. Too bad that guy in front of you faded, because that gap right there, insurmountable with a strong sprinter in front of you, still like 100 meters to go, and he just cramps, unclips both legs. And did you ever see him again in this race?
No, he quit the race. It wasn't also his best day. I think it's the start of the season or something. I don't know.
Funny things happen with people early on in the season. I'm guilty of it too. I always think I'm like a breakaway or a time trialist early on in the season, and then I quickly learn that I'm not. Here goes Red Gloves, by the way, being sneaky out the front. He collected a few points there too. So I'll update the standings. Let's fast forward to the finish. All right, Glenn. So we're on our way to the sprint finish, but I wanted to talk quickly about you having some issues through these corners. This one in particular. Let's first watch the corner here. And look at it, you just come through that corner, you lose about 3 bike lengths. I'm going to pause it right here. Walk us through what was going on.
Yeah, it was a wet race, and it wasn't raining anymore, so I guessed I could get away with some higher tire pressure. I didn't let the air out the tires, and that was obviously a wrong choice because I was all over the place. My bike was sliding beneath me. I lost confidence in the corners. Yeah,
you didn't think that the wet roads were going to be an issue, so you ran your normal PSI when in reality you should have run a lower PSI. I see this as a common mistake with people who are new to the sport. They just go like, "Oh, I'm going to run 100 PSI because that must be fast," but it's not. Yeah. Like even under normal dry circumstances, like 85 is usually pretty good. When it's raining, you should be down at even 70 or 65, depending on a number of things, your weight, the width of the tires, that sort of thing. But you ran your normal PSI thinking it would dry off. It didn't dry off. And then to compound the problem, you had this strip of new asphalt. So you were all over the place.
Yeah.
And then once you start losing traction, you just lose confidence in the corners.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. If you slide once, then you lose all the confidence in the bike. And that's when things are going sideways. You can't ride on people's wheels anymore, and you're scared to fall off your bike.
And that includes this next one too. You lost about 3 bike lengths in that corner, and then we come up to this next one, and you lose another couple of bike lengths, doing all sorts of power to try to get back on terms with this group. And that is no way to win a race. So things weren't really going your way in this first race. Let's just see how the sprint finish plays out, and then see where your standings are coming into race number 2. All right, Glenn, we're picking up action on the last lap. There's a breakaway off the front. This is what happens on rainy days. Chaos. Total chaos. You can see them up there. Glenn's taking a pull. You guys have been working pretty well up to this point, but now we're just a few hundred meters to go, and it's about to hit the fan because this rider in front of you, what is he doing? He is going to start looking around like, nope. He shakes his head. I'm not chasing anymore.
No, you see, there's not anyone in his wheel, so so far the cohesion in the chase.
And Red Gloves, the opportunist, puts in one of my favorites, man. Comes by the front riders with some speed. I talk about this in my Alviso videos all the time. And look what it forces Glenn to do. Glenn, you have to follow this or it's race over for you, right?
Yeah, you have to go with him. And if it was a dry circuit, then it would be a bit easier. And you see me struggling to close the gap, and with the slippy corners, it's a hard task for me to get back on the wheel, and the gap is only increasing. So I have to do all the work myself.
Yeah, that corner, you lost a couple more bike lengths on him, but like I've mentioned in other videos, it does you no good to save your energy if you're not in position at the front of the race. So this huge commitment and effort by both you and Red Gloves is totally necessary. Even though, without question, these front riders are going to be more fresh than you because they've all been kind of rotating and sharing the work on front. They didn't just have to close this monster gap with just a few hundred meters to go. And I like how you immediately get on Red Glove's wheel because this is the position I would want to be in too. We're preparing ourselves for the sprint now, and then bam, here comes the freight train. The Dutch freight train on your left-hand side, totally boxing you in. And it might not seem like a big deal, guys, but those 2 or 3 seconds Glenn was delayed of sprinting make all the difference. And then you can see you're starting to get past. And this is a result of, well, a bunch of things. But closing all those gaps through the corners, not really having the confidence in those corners. I would say doing a gym workout with weights the day before probably wasn't a good idea, Glenn.
Oh, I guess. But yeah, things can only get better from this one. I don't go on Mondays to the gym anymore after this race. So I lost and I learned.
Yes, and I am super excited to go through this series with you. It's a weekly series. I hope you guys stay tuned for more of those. And with that said, Glenn, awesome to have you back, man. Pleasure having you on.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure to get back with you.